այսօր երկու հիր ունենք Ավստրիայից։ Չգիտեմ հայերեն ոնց կթարգմանի, բայց այնտեղ իրանք համակարգ ունեն, որ կիրառական գիտությունների համալսարանների համակարգ ունեն, Fachhochschule կատեգորի ունեն համալսարանների եւ Կարենթիա նահանգում իրանց համալսարաններից մեկն է եւ երկու մասնագետ իրանց համալսարանից այցելում են մեզ այս շաբաթ, այցելել են իրանց մասնագիտությունը շինարարական ոլորտ է եւ նախապարանական խնդիրները, որին պիտի անդրադառնան շինարարական ընթացքում, գործընթացում։ Շատ ուրախ եմ ծանոթացնել դոկտոր Մարտին Շնայդերին եւ տիկին Էլիզաբետ Վիգելեին։ Please. Felix, microphone. Felix.
Good afternoon. It's a honor to be here and present our ideas about the context, construction and nature conservation, or we discuss a little bit is protection a little bit better. It's a very big field. The main topic will present by my colleague Elisabeth, and I'm just the head of this project. I will only talk a little bit where we are and who we are. Who we are is easy. It's Austria, it's a little bit far from here, but we have strong connections together with American University of Armenia, and with other colleagues in the city we talk a lot about this context, construction and nature protection this week, and we realize we need more time. Unfortunately, we have to leave this week, but I'm really sure that we come back. It was a very nice week and we have a lot of very interesting discussion, and I think this idea which Elisabeth will present, it's good situated also in Armenia. But what is an University of Applied Science? I will lose some words about that. The University of Applied Science is a parallel university in Austria and Germany. It's a special thing from there. The education comes more it seems more practical because before we start our courses we discuss very often with industry, and the industry define the demand of students in the next years, and then we produce some programs around that, projects around that, that our students can start directly very close to the practice in the companies, and it's a successful model. We have a lot of practice in the study, and that is the reason that we come on the idea of construction and nature conservation. We have a research center on my university. I'm leader of two groups. One group is fire inspection and fire safety, because in my former study I study fire engineering. That's why I bring a little bit experience inside. But it's not good when the professors have only one experience. I think they should open their mind, and that is the reason that I'm listening on a lot of discussions of the construction sites, and we open a new research center, Construction Needs Nature, we call it, and from this research group Elisabeth and me comes with this topic. And the third research group is textile reinforced concrete for maintenance and refurbishment, construction itself of concrete members and structures. It's also an interesting field. We try to reduce steel as reinforcement in structures and take textiles by carbon fibers or glass fibers. It's also interesting. And at the sum, we think all of us should think about sustainability. And this is an important fact in the world and should lead for a better future. And a part of this future could be that we don't remove all things, build something and try the best to bring all things back. We try to find a way that we can implement the nature in the construction sites and play with this nature as soft as possible. But my colleague will explain our idea a little bit deeper in the details, and I hope you enjoy, and I'm very curious about the discussion after that. Thank you.
Okay, good. Martin, thank you for the introduction. And Ellen, thank you for inviting us and giving us this possibility to talk about our topic. So, I will switch to the PowerPoint. Okay, so, my name is Elizabeth. I'm a geographer and my main research field is nature conservation on construction sites. And in this presentation, first of all, I want to give you a short overview how this topic is handled in Austria. We have a really complicated system. I try to make it as easy as possible. And then Ellen asked me yesterday if I could say something about our big railway construction site in Austria. And in the third step, I will introduce you our course at the University of Applied Science, the Nature Conservation Operator. Okay, we start with a big table. So in Austria, we have a lot of matters and a lot of goods who are protected, and for every good, we have our own law. Law. The first one is the waste. We have our own Waste Management Act. We have one for our province, which is Carinthia, and one for the whole country. Then we have for the construction, the Carinthian construction law. We have our own law for industrial plants. This is the trade regulation. And we also have two laws for our energy. So everything which is connected with energy, like hydropower or solar energy, we have our own law for this, how this has to be built. And we also have our own law for forests. So I don't know, how is it in Armenia? Do you have your own law for forests?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, then it's the same. Then we have the Air Emission Control Act. That's mostly about the pollution of the air, that it's not allowed that it's too high, especially on the highways and for the industrial plants. And then we have nature and landscape. There we have our Carinthian Nature Conservation Act. This is the law about what I'm talking today mostly. And we have the environmental impact assessment, and I heard that you also have this one. And at least we have the Water Act. Okay, so this is our nature conservation procedure. I tried to make it simple. I will explain it. So, at first of all, we have the preliminary procedure. There it goes about, okay, what is the project, where is it planned, how will they build it, how big will it be, and all this stuff. And in this procedure, in this first procedure, we are looking, okay, are there any protected goods on the area? So we have protected goods who are protected by, for example, the bird protection law from the European Union, and the FFH, this is the Fauna Flora Habitat Directive, also from the European Union. And we have red lists like Armenia, we have red lists for Carinthia, for Austria, and yes, that's it. Good. So on our first side of this table, we are talking that on our construction site is no protected good. So there are just normal grasslands with nothing special on it. Then we have the next step, that we have the submission of the application approval. And this goes to the governance. On the governance, we have the experts, and they are looking at the application, and they decide, okay, it's okay that they can build there. There are really no protected goods at all. And then we get the notification. Then is the implementation, so the construction starts. And then at the end, we have the acceptance test. So, this is the easy part. And now we come to the more specific part. This means that we have goods on our area which are protected by the bird protection list from the United Union, or from the Flora Fauna Habitat Directive. And also we could have there any good from one of our red lists. So if we have one of these on our area, then it also goes to the submission of the application for approval. So every project leader can always approve something. So he can always apply his approval to the governance. And then the governance decides, okay, the construction sites or the project has a significant impact on one of these protected goods or no significant impact. So now you're wondering, okay, there is a construction site, but how can the construction site have no significant impact of one of these goods? For example, we are building a street, and on the area we have an old oak tree, which could be a natural monument, so a tree which is, I don't know, 100 years old or so, and the street goes next to this tree, so it didn't really affect the tree. So he gets this projects get an approval from the governance because the good is not directly impacted by the project. Then it goes to notification, implementation, and acceptance test. So, but if the construction site has any significant impact on the good, and in most of the cases, in, I don't know, 90% of the cases, the construction site has a great impact on the good, then we go to the next step that are carrying out nature and species protection impact assessments. So this is really complicated. I won't explain this, but there the governance is looking, okay, which goods are really affected, how they are infected, how is the area around the construction site, and all these steps. Good. And then comes the notification. And also, if we have any goods on our construction sites which get destroyed by the project, and we can also get a positive notification, so an approval. Now you're maybe asking, okay, how's it working? So the construction sites will have a significant impact, but the governance still gives an approval to it. This is so that in Austria, public interests goes always over the nature interests. So if we are building a highway, a school, or a railway, or any other thing which is important for the public, then the construction site always gets an approval. But if it's for some personal issues, then you don't get the approval. So only because there is a rich guy building a house into a protected area, this never gets an approval. Yes, so and if we are here and it gets the approval, so the public interest is pretty high, then we have to make a compensation measurements, but I will come to this later. So I hope it was understandable. If there are right now any questions, feel free to ask. Okay. Good. Then we come to the railway project in Austria. We have a state railway company. It's called Österreichische Bundesbahnen, so ÖBB, as are the letters. And they have, since a lot of years, a huge project in Austria. So they are building a line between Klagenfurt, this is the capital of our region of Carinthia, to Graz. This is the capital of the province Styria. And this is one of the biggest projects in the last 50 years for Austria. And the line has a complete length of 130 kilometers. We are building 47 kilometers of tunnels. And the biggest tunnel in this construction site is the Koralm tunnel, which has 33 kilometers. So it's the 6th longest tunnel in the world. They are building 100 bridges and underpasses, and they also have 23 railway stations. They started the construction in 1999, and the construction is still ongoing. They are nearly finished with all the constructions, and I think that in 2 to 3 years they are finally ready with these construction sites. So, there I have some pictures for you. This project is some kind of a good practice example. They mostly tried to make tunnels. So, also if there is no mountain, they tried to put the railway into the tunnels. And this is in the construction, and this is how it looks when it's finished. So that means that the farmer can have their fields over there, and it's also important for the as wildlife bridges.
So there's continuity of landscape. Yeah.
Yes, yes. So, and now we come to the next topic, wildlife bridges. So, it's a huge impact in such a project. It's a really huge impact into the environment, especially for Austria. So there you can see what it means if you go straight through a forest. Even it's not the best forest, it's an evergreen monoculture, but still it's a forest, and there are living a lot of animals in there. And so they really built a lot of animal bridges. I don't know the exact number of the animal bridges, but all the ecological institutions, they said, okay, it's a good amount, and the corridors are okay. This is one of these bridges. I think it's from a university. It was designed from a university, and they are really proud of this bridge. It's concrete, and they somehow had a bubble. They put the concrete on it, and then they cut out these holes. So, yeah.
So the rail goes under it?
Yes, the rail goes through there, and the animals can go over there. But it's not already finished, so I couldn't find a photo that's finished. Okay, so now for our next topic. Our next topic are the compensation measurements. And only to keep in mind, we are right now here. So we have a construction site which has a significant effect on protected goods. So we need comprehension measurements. And I will give you some good and bad examples only on this railway construction site. Okay, so one of the good ones is, this is a river. Down there is a hydropower, a big hydropower. And they built like this, I don't know how I can call this something like
Dikes. Dikes, yeah.
Yeah. And this is now a really great habitat for birds. So they finished this project 2 years ago, and they already have a lot of birds there. And now we come to an example which is not so good. These are the best pictures I could find. So this is our course, and yeah, this should be a compensation measure for lizards. And they put some stones on a big field, and they also put sand, and all around is everything full with invasive species. And believe me, there is no single lizard on this field. So it completely failed. And this happens really, really often in Austria. That in a notification from the government is written, you have to do this, this, and this measurement, but it's not written who have to take care of it. So the construction companies build it, and then they don't take care of it, and mostly all of them look like this.
Can you give us a little description of what invasive species are?
Okay, so invasive species are species which comes from another area of the world or from another country. So, like you have in Armenia, especially in Yerevan, the tree of heaven. The Latin name is
Ailanthus altissima.
So that means this tree comes originally from China. Is that right? Yeah. And so the species are coming from another country to our country or to your country, and there they have no predators and no enemies. So they are really invasive, and it's a big loss for the biodiversity. Okay, so this is a part of this line which got completed, I think, some years ago, and we have always next to the line these hills, and mostly in whole Austria we have on these areas invasive species. So up there's a guy from the railway company, and he's trying to fight against the Japanese knotweed with a foil and with glyphosate. So it's so that glyphosate is not the best thing to fight against invasive species. It's the most effective one, of course, but it's really harm for the nature. And in Austria, the glyphosate will be forbidden in the next 2 years. So
Sorry, what is that? What did you say?
Glyphosate.
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 Glyphosate. Yeah. So the railway company.
It's a pesticide. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, pesticide. So the railway company and also the company for the highways in Austria, they are right now searching for alternatives. And for example, our research department, we have a research project in there where we really try to find good alternatives for all these problems. Okay, so now we come to the ecological supervision. This is a really great thing which we have in Austria, that if you have a construction site where you have the impact on the protected good, and you always have to get an ecological supervisor. So this is mostly a private company, and they are supporting the construction site. So in a notification, there are all the measurements, requirements. Yes. So in a notification, there are all the requirements which the construction site has to fulfill, and the ecological supervisor is controlling this and looks, okay, is the construction company on a good way, or do they have to adjust something? So these pictures are from one of our construction sites. So I'm not only working at the University for Applied Science, I'm also working for a private company which is called ECO, so Ecological Institution, and this company have also a main focus on this ecological supervisor. And this, for example, we have on the railway line between Klagenfurt and Graz. There we have 6 landfills. So they are building a lot of tunnels, so they're making a lot of tunnels, and there we get a lot of materials, and all these materials have to go somewhere. And this is why they made a huge amount of landfills, so material and soil landfills. And yes, and the main problems on these landfills are, again, invasive species. It's a huge problem in Austria in general. And we also have like some smaller problems like this pond. So this is unwanted water on a construction site. It gets filled up through the rainwater, and this picture was made in June last year. No, June. Yes, June last year. And this year, in January and February, we had amphibians in there. So we had the little frogs, and all the amphibians in Austria are protected. So you are not allowed to kill any frog in Austria. That's really forbidden. So we, as an ecological supervisor, we saw that the complete pond was full with frogs. It was black. So we had to tell the construction company, so you have to stop here. You can't fill this up with your material because you have to wait 100 days until the frogs are adult, and then they go away from their own. I don't know, do you have something like an ecological supervisor in Armenia?
I don't think so. I mean, there's someone who takes care of the EIA compliance on big projects, but that's much more symbolic as a role than.
So is the ecological supervisor hired by the contractor, or it's an obligation to be hired? It's a third party, right?
It's a third party.
Yes, it's hired by the contractor and reports to the
And the governance decides
the
which
government
company
decides.
they have
Okay.
to take.
It's
yes.
not hired by the constructor, by the contractor.
Yes, no,
It's required by the government,
Yeah.
hired by the contractor, but
And
then
paid.
reports to, paid by the
But
contractor.
reports to
the government.
The government. Okay.
Շմագի բանը, շմագի պրոսես։
But paid by the construction.
Yeah, the contractor, yeah. Part of the project cost.
Yes, it's part of the project. Yeah, and the ecological supervisor is around between 5 and 10 times a year on a construction site. So it's not that often. So, yes. Okay, good. And these are also some pictures of our landfills. There, we also tried to work with the foil against the Japanese knotweed. We put this foil around 5 years ago there, so we have our landfills since 10 years. So it's a really long-term project. And you see it doesn't work, we have all around the Japanese knotweed. It was the wrong decision 5 years ago, because the foil was just too little for the amount of the invasive species. Good, yeah, so this was about our railway construction. The landfills where I'm working at, they are mostly in this area. So you see that it's a huge project. There are a lot of companies involved, and it has a huge impact on the environment, but I think they really try to make the best out of it.
Thank you.
Okay, now we come to the Nature Conservation Operator. This is a course which we are providing at the University for Applied Science, and I was just telling you that the Ecological Supervisor is around 5 to 10 times on the construction sites, and this is not enough. So there's going a lot wrong, because the supervisor can't be there anytime. So this is why we made this course. And what exactly is a nature conservation operator? It's the interface between nature conservation and construction. So, and this person mostly should do prevention instead of aftercare. So that this person can identify and assess problems really early. He can recognize opportunities and chances, and he can propose and present solutions for these problems. So, and who should, for who is such a person working? So, the system is that this person's, the nature conservation operator, mostly should work for all these big construction companies. Because the people, like the construction manager, is all the time on the construction sites, and he knows exactly what is going on his construction site. And when he sees any problem, he can react directly, and the problem don't really get to a huge problem. So if we have any ecological problems on a construction site, it always gets super, super expensive. So the costs are mostly between 10,000 euros up to some 100,000 euros. So it's really expensive if something goes wrong in this field, because the governance is always looking and they're always checking, and there are big penalties if the construction goes wrong. So I will look at the time. Okay, so this is our curricula. We have 4 modules, so the course goes for 1 year, and we have some inputs about construction, conservation biology, nature protection law. This is really important that you know, okay, what is ongoing in the law, and geoinformatics, of course. Then in our second module, we have the special aspects. This is construction management, the ecological construction management, the phenology, the recultivation, and all these compensation measurements, and also the handling with the invasive species. And in our third module, we have all these species. So we have the biotopes and habitats, then the amphibians, the fishes, the mammals, and the birds. So we are not learning which specific species we have. We don't learn all the 30 frogs in Austria, how they look like, and what's their name. So this is super not interesting for us. We are looking at the group, and we see, okay, what is the context for the construction site, and what can we do if we have one of these animals on our construction site. And the third module is the applied project. So we are on the applied university, so we also have an applied project, and it should be really a project which is for the nature. So it should be a nature conservation project. And I got here this little book, the white one. There are the projects inside. So unfortunately it's in German, but you can look at the pictures. Yes. And during the course we spent a lot of time on this railway construction and also on the other constructions. Yes, in this book we have all the projects of our students. Yeah, and I'm on my end. So thank you very much for listening. And I would like to start the discussion, and I would like to ask Ellen, can you moderate this discussion? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Շնորհակալություն մոդերացիա միջանն ես դուք եթե կան հարցեր, այստեղ մի փոքր ամփոփեմ, որովհետեւ կարող վարդեր նյութերը ներկայացնել այն առումով, որ այնտեղ կա խոսք եղել ընդհանրապես processing ձևա ընդհանում, ինչա դինում ստեժով։ Ինչից են կոմպանգնել։ Եվ ուրեմն ընդեղ process-ի մասին խոսեց, ընդեղ ընդհանրապես շինարարական պրոյեկտները փորձակնություն են անցնում, կամ պիտի իրենթակային իրան որոշակի գնահատման, բնապահպանական ազդեցության գնահատման, կամ իրանք ենթակա չեն։ Այդ process-ից ենթակային ընդեղ պարզապես պայմաններն է նշվում, որ ինչ պայմաններ պիտի իրանք բավարարեն։ Այդ պայմանների բավարարելու ընթացքում ընդեղ խնդիր կա, որ ասենք ֆլորաֆաունան ինչ ազդեցություն ունի ֆլորաֆաունայի վրա պրոյեկտը եւ ինչ մելիորացիա հայերենով չգիտեմ, միլիգացիա ինչ են ասում, մեղմացման, օրինակ եթե հիշեք, ընդեղ բան կար, օրինակ կար բանի կենթանիների համար կամուրջներ, որ սարքում են, որ անցումային տարածքներ լինի, հարյուրավոր կամուրջներ են սարքում, որ կենթանիները կարող են անցնել եւ այնտեղ սպանվելու ռիսկը կենթանիների նվազեցվի։
Այդքան հասկանում են, որ բարձրանան կամրջի։
Կենթանիները գտնում են իրենց ճանապարհը, այո, որտեղ կենթանի միշտ խուսափում է բանից, էլի վտանգից։ Այդքանով էվոլյուցիան աշխատենք մենք ունենք։ Եվ գոյատևման հարցով նորմալ է մարդիկ։ Եվ այնտեղ այդ ռիսկը մեկ ռիսկ է, որ իրանք փորձում են բանանել, այնտեղ նաև հողի եւ թափոնների կառավարման հարց են լուծում, եւ նաև այնտեղ շատ կարեւոր հարց կա ինվազիվ տեսակների, բույսերի, այլ կենդանիների ինվազիվ տեսակների։ Եվ մի ուրիշ հարց է, որ ինքը բարձրացեց, երբ որ լուծումները կան, օրինակ մետեղ կար մողեսների համար բնակավայր էին ստեղծել, այդ պարտադրված էր իրանց պայմաններից մեկն էր, բայց վատ կառավարման հետևանքով դա քայքայվեց պարզապես ինվազիվները եկան, տարածվեցին տարածքում եւ այդ մողեսները ընդհանրապես չբնակվեցին այնտեղ։ Այսինքն նաև սխալ բաների օրինակների մասին էլ խոսեցինք։ Եվ իրանք նաև վերջում նշեց, որ ունեն լրիվ 1 տարվա իրանք 4 մոդուլից բաղկացած առարկա, որը degree program ոնց ասենք հայերենով։ Ակադեմիական 1 տարվա ծրագիր ունեն, որը վերապատրաստում են մասնագետների, որը շինարարների հետ աշխատեն այս խնդիրներին անդրադառնելու համար։ Այդքանով հարցեր։
Thank you for the presentation. Are there specific guidelines on the types of preventative measures that you could take? For example, low maintenance measures so that after 25, 30 years these measures still work. Are there specific guidelines that you guys work with?
You are talking about which measures?
For example,
For the species?
yeah, for example.
Yes, so we have our own management plans for every invasive species in Austria, more or less. But it's hard for the construction companies and also for the railway company that if they have these invasive species, it's super expensive to get rid of them, and mostly, or most of the time, they don't have the money to fight against them. So they keep growing.
So the long-term solution is an issue.
Ես եմ հարցում եմ, ուզում եմ իմանալ այդ էկոլոգիական խորհրդատուն, որ աշխատում է 5-10 անգամ առնվազն այցելում է շինարարությունը